everybody, and welcome again to this fourth day of the Pranic World Festival. This day is going smoothly and in a very lovely way, with so many information already gathered from our presenters and from the sharing between us. We are now here to introduce a new face to the Pranic World Festival, and he's in US, and his name is Devon. Hi, Devon.
Hello there. Hello. Also
Hello.
known as, they also call me the Black Airbender as well.
Okay, Black Airbender. I like that. Maybe you can tell us why you have this name now in your conference.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. The how I came up with the Black Airbender was from the black, what black means to me, and utilizing it with air. It's like the black void that emanates in all dimensions of reality, just like the breath. And then I came up with the Black Airbender.
Thank you. Thank you. We are now 30 people at the venue of the festival. This year, the festival is a little reduced because in this apocalypse time, it's already a big achievement and a big act of love to making it happen here in Italy. And we also have around 30 people online, and in a few days, it will go on YouTube, on the Breatharian World YouTube channels. So your sharing will reach many other beautiful souls ready to receive. And I give you now the mic, and I will just come back to you later for the Q&A. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate it. Oh, hi, my name is Devon, AKA the Black Airbender. And thank you guys for having me on here so much. And I'm also known as the Black Airbender, and let me go into what Black means to me and how I came up with the name, the Black Airbender. So Black is like the endless void, like a black hole that resides in all dimensions of reality. And just like the breath connects to all dimensions of reality, from when you're sleeping, from when you're in the astral world, from when you're in the waking world as well. The breath is still there. Now, to connect all of it, we all bend air and via our breathing. So we're all doing aerokinesis. That is our birth-given gift, the energetic presence, the energetic movement of breath, and harmonizing with that. And coming on this journey, I was initiated in Bigu, which is a Taoist energy practice of cultivating inside the body when I lost everything to a business partner. And I never did fasting for so long as he before the initiation, he had me fast for 2 weeks. And then I had my first breathwork session, and that opened the gateways towards this lifestyle that I live now. And it took me about 2-3 years to really fully transition to 100% liquids, what I am now. I've been 2 years 100%, and 2 years before that I was 80%. And it started with 1 meal a week, and then that transitioned to 1 meal a month, and then I gave into going fully 100%. So connecting the breath and consciousness, when you give the perception that the breath is consciousness, you start to be more aware that there's an emanating force within everything we do, from the emotional attachment to everyday occurrences in life, synchronicities, it really all connects back to the breath. I literally look at the breath as the pen that is continuously writing our everyday lives and connecting with that ongoing consciousness of reality, i.e. breath consciousness. So utilizing breath consciousness, one can really learn how to alchemize their food intake and really switch the dynamics of that into different sources of being, and really understanding that light is part of the air that we breathe, and harmonizing with that, giving more awareness to that, really like building the muscle that is the unseen muscles, just like we can't really see stress. And we acknowledge that Wi-Fi exists, and they really coincide with each other. Just like we can't see the breath, we know the breath exists as well. So viewing the breath in this parameters and this aspect, you start to realize that the breath itself has different characteristics. And where we truly reside is our willpower is really in depth in the exhales, when we're completely empty of the external world that forces itself, I wouldn't say force itself on us, but in our day-to-day occurrences that is beaming itself at us in this reality, in this sense. So when you give awareness to that paradigm and that contrast, you start to realize that the body on the inhale uses a lot of energy to decipher the fact that the exact inhale you take is from a plant, it's from another human being, it's from your external environment in that sense. And it takes energy to read what's quote unquote happening. When you fully exhale, that's literally 100% you. There's no percentage of an external component that is within the body, reading, deciphering, breaking down, trying to figure out how to utilize this much of quote unquote energy in that sense. So when you feed more into your own willpower, your own will essence, and you focus more on the driving core of the breath, you start to build a foundation in the sense of understanding the connectivity and the neural connectivity of healing, breath patterns, and connected awareness. So when we look at breath patterns and we look at the certain addictions that we have in life, it's not the physical addiction that truly is what people are truly addicted to. They're addicted to the breath pattern. Before the actual thought, before the actual physical manifestations of this human coexistence that we live in, it started with that inhale, that inspiration, right? So that is the leading domino effect of our everyday occurrences in life. And when we learn to shift the breath patterns that we take in and give out, we learn to shift the different patterns that is driving our wants, desires, and not letting us focus too much on our quote unquote needs. So when we shift that, we shift our perception of reality and the connective awareness that the breath pattern can give off. So when we change our breath pattern, we change our lives, and we change our perception and the connective awareness that we put ourselves in different situations and how our breath pattern really connects with that. And just starting my journey with building awareness with that, it started with me losing everything to a business partner. And then when I lost everything to a business partner and going on the Bigu journey with my Sifu at the time, the number one thing that really gave awareness into that perception, that new reality that I was getting myself into, is the number one question I had was, man, how was I breathing all this time when I was with my business partner and all these things were happening? So when I finally got awareness of that, when you get awareness of that, you start to not take the breath for granted at this point in time. You really start to build a deeper relationship with the breath. When the more you dive and the more connective awareness you get with the breath, the more self-awareness you get, because the breath is you. Spirit, that is what is animating the body. And when we leave this vessel, the body is no longer animated. So the breath itself is such a divine intelligence that it's not even the breath itself that's keeping us alive. It's the essence within the breath that is keeping us alive. It's the mechanics of the breathing that is keeping us alive. And this is a type of awareness that I've developed over the years to really understand the responsibility that each of us carry with our breath.
Thank you so much. Such an interesting and new point of view of the journey. And I'm sure that the audience will have questions for you about the specific of your life experience. You have more to share, or we can go for a question and answer?
We can tap into the studies that we've done with my style of breathing, which is alchemy breathwork, which dives more into the parasympathetic style of breathing, pure nasal breathing. And we found that the sound of my breath produces high points of theta in brain waves. So with that being said, and we've tried taking other people's breath and see if we can come up with the same thing, but unfortunately we didn't. So it goes to show your breathing mechanics and what you embody really echoes out into this world that we live in, and it can be measured at a certain point. But there's certain points within this lifestyle and even breathing mechanics that you can't truly measure. And just a last point that I want to share of how connective we are with breath. You take the Eiffel Tower. It took $1.4 million to create the Eiffel Tower. Since we're in France this year, hello. It took $1.4 million to create the Eiffel Tower. You take one worker that works on the Eiffel Tower for the amount of years that it took to create the Eiffel Tower. You can literally do this by yourself. Look up the numbers. And you take the average breath per day, the average normal breather, so to speak, will breathe around 20,000 breaths per day. And then you multiply it with the number of years it took with the Eiffel Tower, you get 14 million breaths. That can't be a coincidence when it took $1.4 million and you're getting 14 million breaths to literally create the Eiffel Tower in a sense. So there's a connective bridge that the breath plays a huge impact on our reality. And you can use that to shift for mainly healing and your day-to-day consciousness of life.
Thank you so much. And related to breath, there is a question from our audience. Is there any specific technique that can help us throughout this shift?
Yeah, there's so many. And that's why I created alchemy the way I did, to have fun with the breath so it doesn't feel mundane or boring. If you want to live this lifestyle, or if you are living this lifestyle, have fun with it. It doesn't need to be boring. That's where the joy of healing, that's where healing comes from, within joy in itself. And that's the beautiful thing that I've realized. But one thing I can share with you, a regular inhale and a 3 partial breath out. Now you're harmonizing with a specific pattern of the breath, and specifically 3, where 3 resides in different parts of the body. You have 33 vertebrae. You have symmetrical parts within your body that resides with 3 as well. And if even atom-wise, with your inhales, I think it's about like, it's about like 5 atoms. Within your exhales, you have about 6 or 9 atoms in total. So your exhales actually carry more weight as well. And when you're breathing in that manner, you're actually harmonizing with the natural mechanism of your biology with 3 or 6 or 9, 3, 6, 9 in that sense. And you can utilize just that one little breath technique in itself. But I also want to share that alchemy is not just technique, it's more of a system, it's a lifestyle, integrating the breath in everyday life. So just that little mini one right there that I just showed you, just play around with it literally randomly throughout the day and see how that really impacts your whole entire day, versus you don't have to sit there for 1 hour, 3 hours, 4 hours. You can compartmentalize it in different factors, and that ties into Einstein's compound effect in itself, where you have compound to actually have the full effect. It still doesn't matter. And that's when you really break away the cycle and the belief system of time. Time is truly a man-made concept.
Yeah, thank you so much. And also, thank you for reminding to all of us to have fun in what we do, to have fun in this journey. Yeah, that's a very important key. It's still, the next question is still related with the breath. Let me just go back to it so I can read it. So how pranic living and Kundalini are related, and when we become pranic, does Kundalini arise? How are they correlated? And how are they correlated with breath work? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I want to say Kundalini, Chi, Prana, in my experience, I really feel like they're all the same connective unit that works together in a sense. And with the breath, understand this, deep within your subconscious, there's a recorded memory of you breathing in all dimensions, all aspects of your every existence till now. So the breath easily gives us that quick awareness into part of our subconscious. And I find when you're breathing in a more parasympathetic way, you're harmonizing with homeostasis when you're sleeping. And this is why I really focus more on the parasympathetic style of breathing, because within homeostasis, you can find deep subconscious activity increase, as we found in the labs, doing different styles of breathing activates, or just the sound of my breath activates high points of theta. And that took time to get to that point where I'm taking a regular inhale and I can feel the vibratory resonance happening internally. And I don't have to do too much breath work as I used to, just to get to that point. And that takes, it's like building a muscle, and that takes time to really groom and groom and groom. And it's not just about Kundalini awakening, it's about maintaining that state of awareness and not just focusing on the awakening aspect, but how does one actually maintain it? And the breath is a great bridge to help maintain that level of awareness and connectivity of what one may perceive as Kundalini, Chi, Prana, Ki, energy. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Another question relating to breath is, how did you develop those techniques? How did they come to you?
Yeah, so this started with my Sifu. He is a Bigu master. At the time, I told him, at the time when I lost everything to a business partner, I went to Chinatown in California, and he was having a seminar. And I told him everything I was going through. And he literally took me under his wing for a couple months. And every day, every day was literally a long, tedious journey of rewiring, unlearning, self-development, and reinforcing the aspect that we are all divine beings having a beautiful experience, and we're taking it breath by breath, day by day, and diving into that level of awareness. The breath itself, I'll still say this till this day, and even my seafood took this from me, but I said, the breath itself is still teaching me till this day. And that's how, when you give reverence to the number one thing, one of the number one things that is feeding your very existence, the more it will teach you in itself, way beyond anyone else that can teach you. I'm only a guide to get you to that, help you get to that level of awareness on your breath journey. I'm just a guide. You know, breath work is the classroom. Breath itself is the literal teacher.
Thank you so much. Let's move to another topic. It's about your outfit. We can see that you are wearing specific colors and symbols, and what do they represent, if they represent anything? And thank you for wearing such a cosmic outfit. This is from my side, because I really love expression, creativity in the expression of ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so this symbol on the alchemical chart means air. Upside down, it means earth. And it's such a powerful symbol in itself that I've experimented with, even with water. I would freeze water. I would have this symbol, and then I would put a glass of water on top, and I would freeze it. You can do this experiment yourself. And the symbol makes a total difference of energy, what it's doing to the water in itself. So that's also how you test out different symbols. And I find this symbol to be very, very, very powerful in itself. With the pyramid, this started with meditation in itself before it became physical, before I started working with pyramid companies. I would imagine a pyramid around me, and that grew over the years, where it became second nature, to the point where I was gifted a pyramid. And this particular pyramid, they tested with fruit. And this is orgone plated. It's by a company named Paradigm. And they orgone plated. It's not just metal plated. So the orgone process is they take a bunch of crystals, dust, and powder the titanium, and then they ionize the gold and copper onto the titanium. And it creates such a vibrance of energy. It was created by Dr. Fred Bell. And the studies they find they did different fruits, different pyramids as well, but they find this pyramid to have the strongest structure with fruit and just cellular regeneration in itself. So that's is why I wear it. It's functional jewelry.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that. Is this a brand that you are also creating and sharing, or is just your
I collaborate with them. Yeah.
Okay. So people, you know, if you go on our website, you can find information and how to reach out to Devon and find out eventually how to get this product. And the next question, So it's about lighting up the diet. How can you how did you find balance between lighting up the diet and keeping a strength and fit body? And sorry, I interrupt you before you start. I remind to you and also to myself to speak more slow, because our translators are in a challenge to keep all these beautiful informations that you are sharing and be able to translate them properly.
Yeah.
And thanks to the translators.
Yeah, so I got blessed and a little bit at the same time. This started in Cali when I went out to Cali, when I lost everything to the business partner. When I used to live in Cali, I would go out to as many different vegan gourmet restaurants almost every day. So I feel like that whole experience really helped me detach, because I tried literally almost everything on the vegan menu, quote unquote, all the way down to Japanese vegan food, which when I tasted that, at that point I said to myself, I tried everything. And then when I met my Sifu at the time, and just me experiencing the fasting for the first time. I fasted before then, but I've never extended it to 2 weeks ever before. And at that time, really seeing the shifts, and I could really understand why he had me fast for that long, even before going into our very first session. So when I went into our first session, I could really feel the difference of energy in terms of the peak. And it wasn't a shock to the body, because I have tried breath work before even meeting him before, but this style was more parasympathetic, and it was more of a calming, really healing energy that I can really dive deep into my body. So, and then I broke the fast again with some vegan food at that time, and I could really feel the density at that time. It was really prevalent at that time. And when I broke the fast 3 days after our very first session. And at that point in time, that really made me commit to the whole Bigu practice. And I was really ready. I told him, I'm ready to dive 100% into this. I'm ready to give up solids and go for as long as I can. And it's important to really understand that the Bigu practice in itself is not to become a full breatharian in itself. It's really getting to the point where one can really feel energy in their body to the point where you don't need, in a natural way, where you don't need the full density of foods. So after the long process of training with him, I came back to Jersey, and then I started having solid meals again. And it was about 2 solid meals a week. And within that time frame, after the 2 solid meals, I would really feel the density, and I would feel very slow at the end of the week. And then I just shifted to just 1 meal a week, and I just stood on that steady pace. And staying on that steady pace, I then shifted to one meal like every other week. And it would be an easy transition for me, because I was still coming off that whole training with my Sifu at that time. So it was a really easy transition, versus I feel like it could have been even more difficult if I went fully back into solid foods and go on that journey. And I feel like it would have been more difficult just transitioning back into it. So I was already on a nice, beautiful path. And then it was 2 years of doing that. And then 2 years and counting right now, I went 100% into it. Right now, my intake is mainly coconut water, some orange, and random juices here and there, but I barely drink at this point in time. So I don't drink as much as you think.
And your physical body stayed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The
So
journey.
the weirdest part about this whole experience is I was still already growing in mass, even before working out as much as I do now, which was really, really interesting. My back, the muscles, the muscle tone of my back looks really defined. And when I start working out more, I could feel more my body growing at a faster rate.
Thank you. Thank you. We go back to the previous topic, breath and breath work. So let me find the question because I don't want to mess it up. There is a state in yoga pranayama called Kevala Kumbhaka, where you are in a state of the breath coming to a full stop, no inhalation or exhalation for an extended period of time. Have you had experiences of this, and can you talk about it?
Yeah. So some of my friends in India, they would say I've gotten to that point. What you just described, I've had many experiences with, and there were even days where I didn't even do breath work yet for the day, and I would just be walking randomly, and I could feel it just randomly coming from the back of my head to the front, and it would be a splash of a tingling feeling from the back going frontal lobe. And I knew for a fact that I was releasing more DMT as well. But it's not about just releasing DMT. It's just your awareness of those factors of release becomes more focused. So at those point in time what you described, that's what has happened to me.
Thank you so much. And maybe we can just take a breath, so also our translators can take a breath.
Yeah.
And then we can go with the last question, which is still related to breath, and it's about the relationship between breath work and sound.
That's a great topic. Now we're diving into breath consciousness here. All right. So breath and sound, they go hand in hand together. Just the sound, like I was telling you, that this is one of the main reasons why I produce subliminal breathwork music. So I have a friend that has an EEG machine, and he can literally make music with his brain. So we're doing different breathing practices and we're creating different music as well. And there was one point in time where I told him, all right, be quiet, just listen to the sound of my breath and let's see what happens. And we could see just him listening to the sound of my breathing. We found high points of theta to be activated, but also alpha as well, but more in a harmonious factor. So I encourage many people out there to pay attention, yes, the sound of your own breath. It makes a huge difference in your state of being and awareness. Specifically on the exhales, when you pay more attention to that, you really build a level of awareness of your will essence coming back out into the world, rather than, you know, we're always being fed the projection of the world in that sense, where no matter where you look with your eyes open, you're being fed information, whether that be colors, shapes, people in itself, that there's internal information that your body's always deciphering back and forth. And one of them is an auditory response, where this plays a role way beyond the physical in itself. There's certain chemicals that gets released just by you hearing certain things, and certain receptors within your inner ear that echoes back into your brain itself, way beyond the physical. So let's say I'm tapping my heart. The sound of my heart emanates a biofeedback loop and will release certain chemicals, versus if I didn't hear the sound of my heart, if I would have my ears plugged in, something like that, or it's like very loud and you can't really decipher the sounds of your body part. Each part of your being holds different points of frequency. If we were to do synaptics, we can see that the sound of the heart, the sound of you tapping your head, the sound of you tapping your stomach, all produces different sounds and different waves of frequency. So when you harmonize the breath and you harmonize different parts of your body in a connected unit, you're building a beautiful feedback loop in a sense. And that in itself is very, very powerful. You look at many yogis that have sit in caves and in silence in that sense. What is the number one thing that they're left with in that silence? The sound of their body. And that is a deep, deep essence of meditation in itself that one really connects with and really harmonize with, and really can amplify their healing, amplify their connective consciousness in terms of their inner world and how that builds a relationship with their outer world. So auditory has a huge response in terms of the physical body.
Thank you so much. So many informations, and we will have all the rest of the day to integrate them. There is another question that I feel I have to ask, because apparently is the most common question in this Pranic Festival 2021. And today I didn't ask yet. And it's about your sleep. How is your sleep, and what are the changes in your sleep pattern since when you started this journey?
Yeah, so I sleep a lot less than I used to. I sleep around like 3 to 4 hours. I sleep upright, and it's like a meditating aspect in itself. I literally view sleep as unconscious breath work. That's literally what it is to me, at least. And that's how I feel. Because I feel like if someone is low on sleep and you get into specifically the parasympathetic style of breathing and really dive into homeostasis, you're catching up on sleep in a sense. There was one doctor that said 1 hour breath work in general is equivalent to 3 nights of sleep. There it is. So there's a connectivity right there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your sharings and all those informations. And I'm sure that many people will keep following you and most probably experiment through your information on their own body. We close here this last conference of the 4th day of the Pranic World Festival. Really, really thank you. And I would like to close taking together one breath, one inhale and 3 exhale.
Oh, yeah.
As you taught us. You can lead.
All right. Thank you all for sharing the breath. And let's take a nice deep breath. Pushing out the stomach, exhaling with the nose. Powerful. Thank you all for sharing the breath. And thank you for having me on here, sharing breath consciousness and elevated awareness of the breath. Peace.